Hi everybody, this is Samantha with Prairie Pioneers. I'm really excited to talk to you today about week 2 of our Three Rivers Challenge. So I learned a little bit from my video last week that might have been a little bit too long telling you about every meal we had during the week. So I'm just going to share a couple of the bigger meals that we had and how I prepared them. So we had meatloaf and purple potatoes using some potatoes from our garden. And then we had some friends over and had a lasagna from the freezer, and I made my homemade breadsticks as well as a cherry delight cheesecake. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about making homemade pierogis and sausages. So they're not your typical Ukrainian pierogis either. They are just a mashup that I made with some ingredients that I had on hand for this Three Rivers Challenge, trying to use some things up. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. To start off with, we made meatloaf and purple potatoes. So I made a standard meatloaf like our family enjoys it, with some onion and beef and some eggs, ketchup, and oatmeal. Then we tried something new this week. I have never made purple potatoes before. So this last year we decided to grow them in our garden. I believe the variety was Violet Queen, and they all came out to be very small, like fingerling size potatoes. So I wasn't really sure what to do with them, so I just decided to roast them in the oven with the meatloaf. So I just threw them in a pan with some salt, some butter, some garlic, some dill, and then put some aluminum foil on it and stuck it in the oven. And that's what we ended up having for dinner that night. I would say it turned out really well. Purple potatoes, like you can see, were so vibrant. Next, I am making some breadsticks to go with the lasagna that we had for dinner when we had some friends over. And this breadstick dough that I'm using is just my normal pizza crust dough. So I have another video on that if you want to check out how to make the dough. I am rolling it out into breadstick shapes and sticking it in a 9x13 pan. One dough recipe does make more than a 9x13. I also did a 9x9 full of breadsticks as well. So after I get these all rolled out and put into the pan, I let them rise for about an hour, and then I brushed them with some melted butter and sprinkled on some garlic powder, some Italian seasoning, and some Parmesan cheese. I don't have quantities on that, I just throw it on there. We like a lot of toppings on them. And then I baked them at 350 degrees until they were golden brown. And when I pulled them out, we ate them fresh, and our guests actually thought that they were store-bought. So that's how yummy these really are. Then for dessert for that same meal, I decided to make what I grew up calling a cherry delight and what my husband's family calls cherry cheesecake. It's an uncooked cherry cheesecake, I guess. It has 2 cups of graham cracker crumbs, a 1/3 cup of melted butter, and then 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And I thought that was quite dry. I think I would use less graham cracker crumbs next time, or significantly more butter, like maybe twice as much butter. And then I patted that down into the bottom of a 9x9. And now I'm making the cheesecake portion of it. I did not have any Cool Whip, and so I had to use the last of our Dream Whip, which is just a powder that reconstitutes with some milk into a Cool Whip consistency or whipped topping consistency. So I'm making that up, and then to that I am going to add 1/2 cup of powdered sugar and 1 brick of cream cheese, so 250 grams or 8 ounces of cream cheese. Mix that up really well. You don't really want any clumps in this, and then transfer that on top of the graham cracker crumbs, spread it out, and stick it in the fridge to let it set. You should probably wait a few hours. I didn't really have that much time, so I left it in for about an hour, pulled it out, put my cherry pie filling on top, and you could use any pie filling you desire, and then chill again until ready. Next, another meal that we had during the week was pierogis and sausages, homemade pierogis and sausages. So I started by cutting up some potatoes and boiling them to make my mashed potato filling for the pierogis. Then I used my sourdough cracker recipe, the herb and garlic one, and I rolled it out to a level 4 and used my pierogi cutter to cut out these circles. After I had the pierogi dough all cut out, I mashed the potatoes and then added to that some shredded cheese and some bacon bits and stirred that up really good. Next, I filled my pierogis, so I used my little pierogi maker, put a dollop inside, and then wet down the edges and sealed it. And alternatively, you could just use a fork to score the edges to keep it closed. Then we boiled them for a couple of minutes, and now I'm making some sausage to go with it. This is just my homemade sausage recipe. And there's the finished product with a dollop of sour cream. Thanks guys for joining me on this week's cooking adventures with the Three Rivers Challenge. I hope you enjoyed it and have a great week. We'll see you next week.